Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I'm feeling lovely, as always. Now, do not mind the cars in the back, and do not mind my speaking. Um, my wisdom teeth are making their way through my gum line. So, yeah, if I speak a bit weirdly, do not mind me, okay? But, yeah, as always, back with another video, another topic of discussion. And today, we'll be talking about being sure of what's going on and what's happening to you. Now, this is not just sport specific, it could apply to your everyday life, but it encompasses many things that us as athletes need to look into and watch out for. Now, why is this important? It's important because knowing what's going on and what's happening to you in specific situations is important to avoid wasting time, to avoid confusion, and to avoid unnecessary delays. So these could be related to, you know, your injuries, self-diagnosing, in terms of wasting time, not asking for help, not asking the right questions, not seeking guidance from the right people, and confusion based on what's expected of you. Whether you're playing a team sport, an individual sport, you need to know what's expected of you. You cannot have a mindset of, I know it all. We learn all the time, we learn every day, we learn in every training session, and you need to know what's expected. And I think that a lot of us don't always know what we have to do at all times, and that's why we get exposed. We wonder why we get to game day and we're always making not necessarily the same mistakes, but we wonder why there's always something to fix. There's always something to fix because there's always something to learn. But I think that we can facilitate the whole process for ourselves by being a bit more proactive. Okay, so this video is probably going to be a bit shorter, but yeah, let's get into it. So the main issues encountered are obviously, like I said, wasting time by not asking the right questions on the spot. We either wait when it's all said and done, or we just don't ask questions at all going into it. Maybe you have questions about tactics. Maybe you need a bit more feedback to understand and to get a different perspective of yourself, maybe from your coaches, maybe from your teammates. It's one thing to play and think that you're doing this right and you're doing this thing wrong. But people around you, people looking, people that are part of your team, are part of what you're trying to build, are part of what you're working towards, see things that you don't see. So I think that everybody asks for feedback, but maybe not as much. During the game, maybe you have like a water break. Go ask your coach. Is everything fine? Is everything going well? What can be changed? Are there any adjustments? Be involved. Be engaged with your teammates. Talk on the field. Be more active, right? Secondly, we confuse ourselves, and I'll develop a bit more. I mentioned it before, but yeah, I'll develop a bit more. Not taking the time to understand what's expected from us, our role. We think we know, but we don't know it all. And when it comes to constructive criticism, it's something you can get from a lot of people. Even someone watching on the sidelines can give you constructive criticism. And all that information that you're gathering can help you better understand your role. And it's not just understanding a role that's fixated. It could depend on how the game is going. It can depend on your opposition. You know, genuinely speaking, you understand the basics. But in a specific situation, like I mentioned, at the start of this video, in a specific situation, we lack proactivity in adjusting mid-game, mid-performance, and that's why we get exposed. That's why we at times come out of the game feeling like I prepared, I did all the training, I optimized everything I could optimize, and I'm still getting exposed. Well, it's because we're very focused on asking the right questions before, after, and not everybody does that, but that's mostly where, we know what's going on. But why not put a bit more focus in understanding and knowing what's going on as it's happening? Why do we always want to wait for things to be all said and done, or only at the beginning to be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what we need to do, and then as it's happening, we're silent. That's a big issue, and I'll point at myself first, especially in terms of communication on the field. I'm a very quiet player, and this video really speaks to me before anybody else, really. Which let's get back into it. The third issue is delaying ourselves by not proactively dealing with injuries, by not proactively dealing with nagging pains. Anything that you don't do now will always pile up. It's kind of like if you leave something out of place in your house, instead of just putting it away in a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. If you do that with many different things, by the end of the week, it's piled up to a point where you now need 2 hours, 3 hours to fix it. It's the same thing when we have issues as athletes. We tend to push it back. Now, I'm not saying to completely take time off every single time you feel something, but at least deal with it. Don't just work your way around, because sometimes you can work your way around an injury. Guess what you're doing? Let's say you have an ankle injury, and instead of trying to treat it, now you're adjusting your running mechanics. Those bad running mechanics are now affecting your knee. And if your knee is impacted, your hip is impacted, and now your entire body is misaligned. And by the time you realize it, by the time you actually try and fix it, you're in too deep. You're in too deep. You're in trouble. And now it's not just a question of taking a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. It could be worse than that. So we really need to work on being more proactive. And in terms of how we deal with this, it's not really going to be like the other videos where there's many different points to go over, but generally speaking, just be more proactive. To avoid wasting time, don't be shy to ask questions, because your lack of understanding will expose you, and in those moments it will be too late to ask questions, because it will already be said and done. You would have already lost. You'd already be too angry or too sad to even think about, oh, only if. The only if doesn't matter anymore. It's done. Also, study what you do more. And what I mean by that is, you don't just study the game by watching it, but again, by asking people that are looking at what you're doing. Gathering those opinions, gathering that constructive information helps you study your game more. And on the topic of not being proactive when it comes to studying the game, I think that some people limit themselves at watching other people play. Whereas when you're playing, you're not playing like them. So if you don't have the opportunity to watch your film, let's say your games are not televised or nobody films your games, you can get that same lens through the people that are watching. That's why it's so important to more proactively ask for feedback, not only from your coaches, but even from somebody looking in the stands. Because when you're watching a game on TV or when you're doing game analysis of a professional game, you're not on the field. You're kind of watching like someone that's in the stands, someone that's watching back home. and that's a different perspective. So why not be more proactive when it comes to your own game? When a game goes wrong, there's nothing wrong with watching the pros do it, but why don't you watch yourself and fix what you're doing? Because the mistakes he's making and the context in which the pros are making mistakes is not always the same context in which you're making mistakes. So study the game better. I'm pretty sure you guys already study the game, but just study it better. And then, of course, don't waste time when it comes to addressing issues. Attack them as soon as you can and get that out of the way. Work on it. Don't avoid them. Work on it. Because you can work through nagging pain. You can work through some injuries. But some people just wait it out. They kind of avoid it, but they're still training, they're still playing, and it just gets worse. So rather than avoiding it or necessarily easing off, work on it. That way, you're still able to do what you do, and you're strengthening your body, you're strengthening your mind as you go. Okay? So yeah, hope this video helps you guys. Hope you learned something from it. I certainly did. Like I said, I feel like this video really is for me. But I hope somebody watching this got something from it. And yeah, see you next time.